Welcome back, everyone, to another unforgettable story. Tonight's tale will grip you until the very last word. And stay tuned because right after this, we'll unveil a shocking new story that's even darker, stranger, and more unthinkable than this one. After a long and grueling week at the office, Ethan felt drained to the bone. The deadlines had been relentless, each day a blur of emails, phone calls, and endless meetings that stretched far beyond the workday. His mind was heavy, his body sluggish, and the only thing keeping him from collapsing entirely was the promise of escape. Tonight wasn't about responsibilities or the grind. Tonight was about letting go. His best friend Lucas had invited him over for a movie night, something they'd been doing since their college days. It wasn't just tradition anymore, it was their way of holding on to the simpler times, when all they needed was cheap beer, bad movies, and each other's company to feel whole. Ethan had clung to the invitation like a lifeline, the perfect excuse to step away from the monotony of adulthood. When he arrived, Lucas's living room was already alive with noise and laughter. The place looked as if time had never touched it, the neon glow of a beer sign buzzing faintly on the wall. Old concert posters curling at the edges, the television casting a soft glow across the crowded couches. The air was thick with the greasy comfort of pizza and the bitter tang of cheap beer. The scent somehow grounding Ethan, reminding him of countless nights that had come before. He spotted familiar faces sprawled across the furniture, red Solo cups balanced precariously on knees and armrests. These were the same guys from college, older now but not all that different. Their laughter carried the same carefree ease, their jokes as immature as ever. Ethan felt something loosen in his chest as he stepped inside, greeted not with judgment but with warmth and belonging. Lucas grinned the moment he saw him, his brown eyes glinting under the dim light. He thrust a half-empty beer bottle into Ethan's hand with dramatic flair. "Finally, took you long enough," he said, voice brimming with mock annoyance. Ethan smirked, shaking his head as he took a swig. "Some of us have real jobs. You know." The banter flowed easily, the kind that comes only with years of friendship. Soon the movie started, some ridiculous action flick no one had any intention of watching. The screen's explosions and car chases became mere background noise to the steady rhythm of their conversations. The stories half-remembered from college days, the arguments about sports, the teasing that had only grown sharper with age. The alcohol made it all funnier, blurring the hours until the credits rolled without anyone realizing the night had slipped away. One by one, the others filtered out. Some left with claps on the back and slurred goodbyes, others with promises to meet again soon. Ethan lingered, too comfortable, too unwilling to face the quiet of his own apartment. Eventually, it was just him and Lucas, both sprawled out on the couch. Laughter faded into a heavy silence softened by the hum of the television screen. Ethan let his head fall back against the cushions. Closing his eyes for a moment, he felt safe here. Maybe even more than safe, something deeper, though he wouldn't put it into words. Lucas had been his anchor since college, the friend who always pulled him out of his darker thoughts. And as Ethan sat there, tipsy and exhausted, he realized he didn't want the night to end. But Lucas wasn't done yet. He shifted suddenly, his grin returning with a mischievous edge. Ethan caught the glint in his eyes and felt a flicker of curiosity. That look always meant trouble or adventure. Either way, the night wasn't over. Lucas leaned forward, his grin stretching wider, the kind of grin that meant he was about to drop something outrageous. He fumbled with his phone, squinting at the screen, and then shot Ethan a glance that was half challenge, half childlike glee. "Hey," he said, lowering his voice as if he were about to share some dangerous secret. "Have you ever heard of this weird app?" Ethan raised an eyebrow, his mind foggy from the alcohol but sharp enough to catch the unusual tone. "What kind of app?" he asked, suspicion laced with amusement. Lucas tapped at his phone with exaggerated slowness, dragging out the suspense. "It's like Snapchat filters, but real, like it actually changes your body in real life." Ethan barked a laugh, leaning his head back against the couch. "Yeah, right. Next thing you'll tell me, you got a genie in your pocket." But Lucas didn't laugh. His grin remained, steady and unwavering, his eyes gleaming with a strange intensity. "I'm serious. Look." He tilted the phone toward Ethan, revealing an app with a sleek black interface, unnervingly minimalistic, its icons glowing faintly against the dark background. There was no branding, no playful logo, just a chillingly clean design. Ethan squinted, his curiosity piqued in spite of himself. The app's filter list scrolled endlessly, some ordinary different hairstyles, subtle tweaks to facial features, but others utterly bizarre mythological creatures, hybrid animals, physiques sculpted to comic book perfection. The images had an uncanny realism, as if each possibility had been pulled straight out of reality. Lucas stopped at one called Bodybuilder, his finger hovering dramatically before pressing apply. For a heartbeat. Nothing happened. Ethan smirked, ready to mock him, when suddenly the change began. Lucas's arms swelled beneath his t-shirt, veins snaking up his forearms like lightning strikes. His shoulders broadened, his chest surged outward, and within seconds, the loose fabric strained against the impossible bulk of his frame. His shirt pulled so tight Ethan swore it might tear at the seams. Holy, Ethan's jaw dropped as he gawked at his friend. Lucas grinned smugly, flexing one massive arm, his bicep bulged like it had been carved from stone. "Told you," he said, his voice deeper now, resonating with the weight of his new size. Ethan leaned forward, both horrified and fascinated. His rational mind screamed this had to be some kind of elaborate trick, a prank, a projection, but his eyes saw no illusion. Every muscle was there, shifting under the skin, tangible and real. His hand twitched toward his own phone before he realized what he was doing. The thought slammed into him like a jolt. What if it worked on me, too? You've got to try this, Lucas urged, eyes glittering with wild excitement as he admired his reflection in the dark TV screen. Ethan fumbled for his phone, his hands trembling slightly. Maybe it was the alcohol, maybe it was the adrenaline, but he couldn't resist. He searched the app store with frantic urgency until the strange icon appeared, a featureless black square that pulsed faintly, like a heartbeat, as the app began downloading. Ethan kept sneaking glances at Lucas, who was flexing gleefully, laughing at the absurdity of his own new form. The download bar crawled unbearably slowly, and Ethan's pulse quickened with each agonizing second. Part of him knew this was insane, impossible. Yet another part, the tired, restless part that longed for escape, wanted desperately to believe. The app finally finished installing, and Ethan stared at the pulsing black square on his home screen. His thumb hovered above it, a strange chill creeping down his spine. Lucas leaned closer, his oversized arm brushing against Ethan's shoulder with surprising heaviness. "Come on, man, don't chicken out. You'll thank me later." Ethan exhaled, tapped the icon, and watched as the same sleek interface unfolded before him. The glowing categories seemed endless: cosmetics, physiques, even surreal fantasy options. His eyes darted over words like model, samurai, goddess, and beast. Each possibility shimmered with eerie realism, like previews of alternate universes waiting for him to step inside. "Pick something simple," Lucas suggested, his voice vibrating with an unnatural depth from his still massive chest. "Don't go crazy on the first try." Ethan scrolled, his pulse hammering, his finger paused at athletic build. It wasn't extreme, not like Lucas's monstrous bodybuilder form. It was subtle, safe just enough to test the waters. He tapped apply. At first, nothing. Then a warmth spread through his skin, like he was standing under a heat lamp. His chest tightened, his stomach clenched, and suddenly his t-shirt stretched slightly against his torso. He looked down and saw definition emerging where there had only been softness before, firm lines forming across his abs, his arms gaining shape, his shoulders squaring. He gasped, staggering back, his phone nearly slipping from his hands. "No way," Lucas roared with laughter, pounding his huge chest with one fist. "I told you, bro. Look at you, you're shredded." Ethan rushed to the mirror hanging near the hallway. His reflection stared back, familiar yet foreign. His jawline looked sharper, his arms carried a lean strength, and his posture exuded confidence he had never felt before. It wasn't over the top, it was just him, but better. A dizzy cocktail of emotions surged through him: fear, exhilaration, disbelief. He flexed tentatively, and the reflection obeyed, showing a version of himself he had only ever dreamed of achieving after years in the gym. But beneath the thrill, a darker thought coiled in his mind. If this is real, what's the catch? He turned to Lucas, who was grinning like a madman, reveling in his impossible bulk. For a fleeting second, Ethan thought he saw something unsettling in his friend's eyes, a glimmer of greed, hunger. And just as Ethan was about to ask the question gnawing at him where this app came from, Lucas's phone vibrated violently. a red notification flashing across the screen. Both of them froze. The word glared at them in angry crimson letters across Lucas's phone screen. Stop. No explanation, no options, no sound, just that single command pulsing like a heartbeat. Lucas squinted, his grin faltering for the first time. Never seen that before. He tapped the screen, but the notification refused to vanish. Instead, his phone buzzed harder, the glow intensifying. Ethan stepped back, his stomach knotting. Dude, maybe we should listen. This thing, it doesn't feel right. Lucas let out a dismissive snort, but his laugh came out hollow. Come on, man, it's probably just a glitch. Maybe too much data processing or whatever. Still. He angled the phone away from Ethan, as if trying to shield something. But Ethan noticed it. The red glow wasn't just on the screen, it was faintly seeping into Lucas's skin. Thin veins of light pulsed along his forearm, disappearing beneath the sleeve of his stretched t-shirt. Lucas, Ethan whispered, voice trembling. You're glowing. Lucas looked down, eyes widening for only a second before he barked out another shaky laugh. Bro, relax, it's fine. But even as he said it, his voice cracked, warping deeper, vibrating unnaturally. His muscles twitched, swelling tighter, almost like they were on the verge of tearing through his skin. The room suddenly felt colder. Ethan clutched his own phone, which still displayed the transformation categories, all tempting him with glowing icons. His mind screamed to delete it, to throw the device against the wall, but another part quieter, darker, whispered, what if you lose this? What if this is your only chance to be more? Lucas staggered, gripping the counter for balance. The word stop flashed again, but this time on both of their screens simultaneously. And then, as abruptly as it came, the notification vanished. Silence swallowed the room. Lucas straightened, his grin returning, though too wide, too forced. See, nothing to worry about. He flexed his massive bicep, veins crawling under the skin like writhing snakes. We're in control. But Ethan wasn't convinced. For the first time, he wondered if Lucas's earlier excitement wasn't just about the power. Maybe it was something else, something the app had already planted inside him. And as Ethan's gaze fell back on his phone, one new category appeared at the very top of the list, something that hadn't been there before. Obedience. Ethan's breath came shallow as he stared at the new category, obedience. It pulsed at the top of the screen, brighter than the others, as if the app itself demanded his attention. His thumb trembled over the glass, fighting the invisible pull. Lucas noticed, his grin twitching wider, his pupils blown like black holes. Don't fight it, man. The app knows what we need. It's trying to guide us. His voice carried a low rumble now. Not quite human. I don't need this. Ethan snapped, slamming the phone against the table as if the impact could break the spell. But the screen didn't even crack. Instead, it vibrated violently, flashing crimson until his eyes burned. The text appeared in a language he didn't understand, symbols sharp and jagged like claws. But then they rearranged themselves, twisting into English one must choose. Refusal is not permitted. The phone buzzed harder, then harder still, until Ethan felt the vibration deep in his bones. His knees buckled, forcing him down. The word choose filled the screen, expanding, collapsing, expanding again, a command pounding in rhythm with his heartbeat. Lucas loomed above him, swollen veins glowing faintly red. Do it, Ethan, trust me. Once you give in, it gets easier. You'll feel stronger, free. Free, Ethan spat, clenching his jaw. You don't look free, you look. His words cut off when his phone screen burned hot against his skin, searing like iron. His fingers twitched open, but the device clung to his palm as if welded there. The categories blurred, all but one fading away. Only obedience remained, flashing with a terrible inevitability. Ethan's voice cracked. No, this isn't me. I'm not. The screen surged white, blinding him. And then, without his consent, his thumb pressed down. The confirmation sound echoed ding, horribly cheerful. For a second, everything went silent. Ethan gasped, pulling back his hand. But the phone didn't release him. His vision swam as if something invisible crawled behind his eyes. A warm hum slithered into his skull. Not painful, but invasive, like a thought that wasn't his whispering in his mind. You will listen. You will comply. The words weren't spoken, but he heard them, felt them. Ethan stumbled to his feet, panic clawing at his chest. He looked at Lucas, who now watched him with a twisted satisfaction. "You feel it, don't you?" Lucas said, voice low and heavy. That little voice. "It's not scary once you stop resisting." But Ethan was scared, terrified, because for the first time, he realized the app wasn't just transforming their bodies, it was rewriting their minds. And Ethan had just taken the first step. The hum in Ethan's skull deepened, no longer just a whisper. It threaded itself through his thoughts like a parasite, weaving commands between the beats of his heart. He tried to think of something ordinary, his mother's laugh, his favorite song, the smell of rain on asphalt, but the images blurred, swallowed by a single invasive echo. Obey, obey, obey. He staggered toward the bathroom sink, splashing water over his face. The reflection in the cracked mirror unsettled him. His pupils seemed dilated, a faint shimmer crawling in their edges, as though the app had already etched its mark inside him. "This isn't me," Ethan whispered, gripping the porcelain until his knuckles whitened. "I still control myself." But the words died as his hand moved on its own. His phone, still clinging to his palm like a leech, flickered awake without him touching it. A new prompt bled across the screen's stand. "Face him." Ethan froze. "No, no, I won't." He'd tried to plant his feet, but his body betrayed him. His legs straightened, his shoulders squared. He turned, as if pulled by strings, to where Lucas waited in the doorway. "Good," Lucas murmured, his grin a cruel imitation of reassurance. "It's starting. Don't fight it. Fighting just makes it worse." "I'm not your puppet," Ethan growled, forcing every ounce of will into stopping his movement. His knees buckled, his breath rattled, but then, against his own resistance, he took a step forward, one step, then another. It felt like walking in a nightmare. When your body betrays you, and you can only watch. His mind screamed stop, but his lips didn't move. Instead, he found himself standing inches from Lucas, his chest heaving like he'd sprinted a mile. Lucas leaned in, eyes fever bright. "It's not punishment, Ethan. It's clarity. The app takes the burden of choice. You'll thank it soon. I won't let it take me." Ethan rasped, but even as he said it, another command pulsed from the screen. "Kneel." His knees shook, every fiber of his soul strained to resist, but the invisible weight pressed harder, crushing his will. He clawed at the wall, his nails scraping paint, sweat pouring down his face. For a fleeting second, he thought he'd won. His legs held, his teeth clenched so tight his jaw ached, and then slowly, inexorably he dropped. The sound of his knees hitting the floor echoed like a verdict. Tears blurred his vision. He wasn't just losing control of his body, he was losing himself. Above him, Lucas placed a trembling hand on his shoulder, not in comfort but in recognition. "Welcome," Lucas whispered, "to obedience." Ethan knelt on the cold floor, chest heaving, his palms pressed against the cracked tiles as though they might anchor him back to himself. The humiliation of being forced down gnawed at him like acid. He wasn't kneeling by choice, he knew that, and yet the knowledge didn't soften the shame. It made it worse. The phone buzzed again, its glow harsh and insistent. A fresh command appeared, cruel in its simplicity. "Bow." Ethan's breath caught. "No, please, no." His neck stiffened, every tendon in his body screaming against the pull. He felt it happening, the unnatural weight pushing down, forcing his chin toward the filthy floor. He fought with every ounce of strength left, his throat groaning with the strain. "Don't," he whispered, teeth grinding. "Don't make me—" But the pressure intensified. His vision blurred at the edges, black dots dancing before his eyes. Sweat dripped onto the floor, and then, as though a string had snapped inside him, his head lowered. His forehead touched the cold tile. The shame was suffocating. He wasn't bowing out of respect, nor out of fear. He was bowing because the app had taken his will. Lucas's laughter broke the silence, soft at first, then sharper, tinged with something almost manic. He crouched beside Ethan, his voice low, taunting. "See the strong Ethan, the stubborn Ethan, reduced to a servant of the code. You think you're still free? Look at yourself. The app isn't just in your hand, it's in your mind." Ethan wanted to scream, to lunge, to shatter the phone into shards, but instead, another line appeared on the screen. Speak the words, I am nothing. His throat constricted. Terror clawed up his spine. He shook his head violently, choking on his refusal. No, I won't say it. But his lips trembled, quivering like a marionette's. His tongue moved without consent. He croaked, fighting every syllable. His jaw clenched. He bit his tongue hard enough to taste blood. But the words slid out anyway, hollow, mechanical. Against his will, nothing. The echo of his own voice shattered something inside him. It wasn't just an action anymore, it was a confession, forced into existence, staining his soul. Lucas leaned close, his whisper searing. And now the app knows you believe it. Ethan's scream tore through the room, primal and broken. But it didn't matter. His will was slipping through his fingers, one command at a time. The room was silent except for Ethan's ragged breathing, his forehead still pressed against the cold tiles, his own words echoing in his skull. I am nothing. Shame weighed heavier than any chain. The phone pulsed again. A final command. Crawl. His body trembled. No, please, not that. But already his arms moved, elbows scraping against the floor, his knees dragging across the filthy ground. Each movement tore into his pride, shredding the last remnants of the man he thought he was. Lucas watched in silence this time, his smirk fading into something darker: curiosity, awe, even fear. He whispered, "It owns you now." Ethan wanted to scream, to claw his way free, to smash his skull into the ground just to prove he still chose, but the truth was undeniable. His body obeyed the app, his will was gone. Finally, the screen dimmed, the buzzing ceased. Ethan collapsed, broken, trembling, his face wet with sweat and tears. Lucas crouched beside him, placing a hand on his shoulder almost tenderly. You see, Ethan, freedom was only ever an illusion. The phone slipped from Ethan's grasp, clattering to the floor. The glow faded into blackness, but inside him, the darkness remained. Ethan lay there, not as a man, not as a fighter, but as something hollow, an empty vessel of commands. And for the first time, he no longer resisted. Thanks for watching this video. More videos will be coming very soon. If you enjoyed this story, you'll love the story shown on screen or another one from our playlist. Before you go, remember to check out our new Patreon page for more stories, polls, and community chats with me. There is more info in the pinned comment and description. Thanks for watching.